Good morning, it's Judges Jules, it's the judge here, and young Simon in the corner. How are you? So how did the weekend treat you?
Not feeling very young, but yeah. I'm younger than I'll ever be again, Judge. Put it that way.
Oh, bless you. I mean, there was some, some good, I love a sprint handicap. So for me at the weekend, there was some decent sprint handicaps, and it's always it's nice when you get the winner of the grey race, but it's not. I do love that race to watch as well. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the silver and the biggie were great this year. They had loads of little stories and gambles and angles, and I'm sure we'll come on to both. But
bit painful for me on both fronts, but
yeah. It was quite, and I say I've got one at Donny that I think all the focus was on Newbury and Ripon, quite rightly on Saturday, but I think a couple of things might have been missed at Donny that we can profit from.
Yes, you've already spoken to me about it. I think that's one meeting I do need to go back over the weekend, so I will do, because I don't want to think that I'm not doing much. So we better crack on with the show, as they say, the old previews. And
exactly.
I'm going to start actually with one that ran in the old Sky Bet Sunday series to give them their bit of advertising.
What day was that, Judge?
Yesterday.
What day was that?
Yeah, Sunday. Yeah, yesterday.
I'm there all week.
Yeah. What day of the week? Very good. Yeah, and I fall straight into it. Yeah. Anyway, so yesterday there was a couple of horses going for 100 grand. I think it serves a purpose, the series, and I think it's not a bad betting product sometimes. But there was one horse that caught my eye yesterday. It's a horse called The Beautiful Game. Well, we could talk about football, but I think we better talk about racing. It's in the 6:15 yesterday, and Sandown can be one of them funny tracks where you think it's quite a stiff track. It won't suit front runners, but yesterday in particular, you needed to be on the front end. The winner of the race was Marinara, who pulled very hard and was given a good ride by the kid, and held on from Tango Tonight, who've been prominent pretty much throughout, and Zaga was in second, came fourth. But the Beautiful Game was ridden by Safi Osborne, was out the back in last, and pretty much looked like going nowhere. But if you watch up the home straight, stayed on very strongly. And you can't believe it's actually got place with the way the races have been run around there all day. And I think this is also that's going to be popping up. It's his first run of the season, 111 days off the course. And I think it's obviously a Moffat Barker 78. I think it's not going to go up for that particular run. I think keep that out, keep an eye on that in the next couple of weeks. I think there's a nice race, probably a fillies race for this Tom Clover filly. So the first one's a Beautiful Game.
Yeah, as an Everton fan, the Beautiful Game's not really one I want to spend too much time on this morning. I tipped Zaga in that race, so I thought she was quite disappointing where she found little. But
yeah, she was prominent all the way. I think she wants a proper trip.
Yeah, I'm giving up on her. Yeah, and I think that you're right. Beautiful Game was given a lot to do, and the circumstances of the racing yesterday there, I mean, we spoke earlier, you had to be really on it, didn't you? So I think you can mark that performance up significantly. And I would imagine she's got a fillies handicap at her mercy, Judge.
Yes, definitely.
I am going to go to Donny on Saturday, if my computer will allow me to. Yes, it is now. And like I say, I think this could have been overlooked, this meeting, which is odd, really. Big day at Donny. But, with such a big meeting at Ripon and really good racing at Newbury, it was kind of shunted to the sidelines a little bit. And there was I thought, a really good little novice race, the 340, won by a horse called Purple Love, a Richard Hannon horse who's got his team in great form going into Ebor week. So keep an eye on the Hannons this week. Now, my actual eye catcher is the second Voltar, trained by Clive Cox, ridden by Paul Mulrennan, which went off 6-4 favourite, well back 6-4 favourite. This was its second run, and it had made a promising debut, and I really think this was expected to do the business here. They pulled 2 lengths clear from a horse called Thunder Princess of James Fanshaw's, which I think could be quite useful, and the rest were nowhere. So I think this is a good performance from the front two. The thing about Voltar is, it was its second run, but it really ran like a horse making its debut. If you watch the replay, he just shoots left at the start, and that's what cost him the race ultimately. travelled well, but quite a gangly horse. Loads of improvement to come in this. And this race will have brought Volta on a great deal. And I think this is ready to go in again pretty quick. I think Coxie will have this out in the next couple of weeks. Would not surprise me at all. And I think it'll could even be in a Class 5 or a Class 4. I think this was as good a Class 5 novice as you'll see, because the front two here, they're well-bred, nice horses, and they were far too good for this field. And I think Volta, if you backed him on Saturday, your losses are lent. And also, we'll keep an eye on that winner as well. I think they're two nice prospects. Very green, very inexperienced, but they'll want to get on with it now.
If you're part of the gamble on Volta, I think if you backed it, I think you were always thinking you were going to get beat all the way up that final furlong. And yet, the closer and closer it got to the line, the more likely it was that you might actually get up. I mean, it looked like it was going to get beat in the neck, then a head, then a short end, and end up getting beat in the nose. I liked its attitude. It looked like it kind of wanted to win, which is quite good for a horse only on its second start. It wasn't a bad run at all. It's a decent there was a decent sprint on that card. I want to go back over, and Bedford Flyer was a horse that caught my eye, thinking there might be a race in that soon. That's getting to a handicap mark. That's definitely one for your notebook. That my second one was back at Newbury in the 3 o'clock. And it's quite difficult, trying to work out what the going is at some of these tracks. And they had loads of rain on the Friday, and you thought it was genuinely soft, and there's prospects of thunderstorms as well. So you're working on the basis it's going to be really soft, and it dried up a bit there on Saturday. It's so hard to work out sometimes. But I don't know what Pat Dobbs was doing on a horse called Classic. The race was won by Spangled Mac, who did actually come from just off the pace. But boy, did he give this horse plenty to do. I mean, he must have thought he was riding Dancing Brave in his A-day or something. But I think if he says to himself, I'd like that ride back again, this is one he'll definitely want back. And I thought Classic was particularly unlucky on Saturday. It's quite an obvious eye-catcher, but I just think this horse is definitely in front of its mark. Travelled really well. Didn't pull like it had done in the past. And I think he thought he had plenty left. And to be fair, he then switched to the wrong side, didn't get through. He's come fourth, got beat a couple of lengths, but morally he's the right winner of the race, and he obviously can't go up for that fourth. And there's definitely a handicap for this horse come the end of the season. So for me, it's Classic, who's the next one in your tracker.
Yeah, if you back Classic, it was just one of those head in hands. I tipped Potmaster at 12s, and
that's just as painful.
Ross Coakley has given that an absolute stinker. You don't whip Potmaster. It has one little burst. He's come too early, got the lead, and then he's whipped it. You can see Potmaster rear back then. Just dreadful. I've no idea what Dobbs was doing at all. I mean, the horse did dwell at the start, slowly away that, but there was plenty of time. It's a 7 furlong race, and he was going up just blind alleys. He'd have been better off sweeping around the whole field. He had so much horse under him. I think he would have won still.
That's what I couldn't understand. You've got so much room to the left, so much room to the right, and you try to go through it. It's just madness, really. But it was a bit of pocket talking, but it wasn't a good ride, really.
No, and I mean, the thing is, this has got a real solid. If you handicap this race around two really solid horses at 0 to 100 level, which are Potmaster and Isla Kai, for Classic to be travelling all over them is a significant performance. And you're right. The question is now, what do you do? Do you go for a smaller race? He's obviously in screaming form, or do you go in another big field handicap sharpish? I suspect they'll do that, and then Dobbs will either be off or he'll get a chance to redeem himself. But it was one of them that a lot of people are going to be wanting anybody who backed that on Saturday is going in even heavier, I would suspect, next time.
That have to be price based. I mean, I wouldn't want to go in too short, definitely.
There's no plane you can go skint back in unlucky horses.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do think off his mark. Yeah, I do think it's a cracking eye catcher because, like I say, you've got two very, very solid yardsticks in Isla Kai and Potmaster, and he was travelling all over them.
Yeah.
So he's well ahead of that mark and just needs it to drop right. So yeah, I can fully see that. All right, my second and final one is a horse that I gave on Saturday as a danger, the old Andy Taylor Bloodstock at Ripon in the consolation race, which I will just bring up now. The silver cup, silver trophy even. And I've got to give it as an eye catcher because I think there is a couple of angles. Strong Johnson was the horse. I did say to you, Judge, that I felt there would be a gamble on this.
You did.
And in the last half hour, the price just kept coming and coming and coming. And this was trust me, even in these days of smaller turnover, shall we say, this was a significant gamble on Strong Johnson. And it was not far off being landed. The horse finished third. He was prominent on the far side. Now, it's a front runner's track. We both made the point that you've got to be handy. However, even on front runner's tracks, you can go too quick. And I think they went on the far side too quick. And it was amazing that Strong Johnson kept on as he did. However, Roundhay Park does what Roundhay Park does. Runs in big fields. If they go too fast, is able to pick them off late. And the fact that Roundhay Park did that, and Impeller, another closer, was second, is further proof to me that they went very, very quick here. And I think it's a massive feather in Strong Johnson's cap that he was able to keep that up and just get done in the shadow of the post. An exceptional performance, clearly very, very well handicapped. If you watch the replay, he's got a huge round like gallop. This thing on heavy or very soft ground is going to be very interesting. If you look back through its Irish form, so many of these late sprints up at Ayr, the ones at Donny, even down at Ascot, wouldn't surprise me. You do get these soft ground autumn days. If they do, I'm going to seriously clobber this thing wherever it goes. Be it a Silver Cup, be it a Portland or the Consolation, whatever. In a sense, they've shown their hand here, but even so, we know what we're getting now. We know what this is capable of. It just didn't fall right for it. And I think the ground dried out probably a bit too much for it as well. And so there are reasons. I think they all went too fast on the far side. I'm not blaming Mulrennan. It's just one of those things. Everybody wanted the lead. And if you've got 4 or 5 that want the lead, invariably they all cut each other's throats. You see the way that the other horses on the far side fell away in the last furlong, what that pace did to them. And this thing kept on. An exceptional performance, even though it didn't win. And there is a big, big race in this, Judge. Trust me on that one.
Well, if you actually looked at his Irish form side, I mean, it was at, I think it's about, behind its best form, it must be about £30 below its best mark. So this horse is well capable of winning a big pot, or let's say running up a sequence. I'd be amazed it doesn't win 2 or 3 races, really, with the markets running off. And like you say, over the far side, I mean, it's won its race quite well over the far side. And to be fair, he's ridden to win his side of the track. It's very difficult in these sprints to try and beat the other side. You've got to do what you can your side of the track.
Yeah, exactly.
He won his side of the track. Unfortunately, he was on the wrong side, if you like. I mean, it definitely was. It was a gamble, well made and well played, but you still got to come off, isn't it? In these big races, it's just hard. Funny enough, my other eye catcher in that race, for the purpose of this, obviously this tracker video, is a horse called Snash, who finished 5th, and I think he finished 3rd that side of the track. It seemed to take a little while for him to get a clear run. He just never got like a clear straight run at it, and I think he would have been a bit closer to Strong Johnson his side. This is another Tim Easterby inmate that's now very well handicapped. He ran now for mark of 73, and if you consider last year in the Great St Wilfrid itself, it came 6th off a mark of 90. It does give you an idea of how far this horse has fell in the ratings. And there's been bits and pieces this season where he's shown that he is well handicapped. And I would be amazed if they don't go for a little tickle on this one day. You'll see it back from 10s into 4s, and that's the day. And I've got a feeling it'll be in the next couple of runs. And I just think it's one to keep an eye on. Snash is my last one in my tracker for us.
Where would you see that being? Back at Ripon, maybe?
Yeah, you would likely probably be a Doncaster. I think it won at Thirsk, actually. Won a good, decent handicap there. A Northern handicap, probably. Has actually got some form at York, believe it or not. But I just still feel he probably is a horse that wants to come from behind. So somewhere where they go off too fast and he can run on. Wouldn't want to be running in a 5-horse race or anything, but somewhere where there's going to be some pace to run at. He's definitely now a horse to be, keeping an eye on. But I think when the money comes for it, that'll be the time to play, if you know what I'm trying to say. They're quite a shrewd outfit, and they know they've got a horse there. But the interesting thing from that, they've been wearing a visor or cheek pieces, and they took the headgear off for this run, and it ran back to form. So whether they then stick the headgear back on again when the times are coming, I don't know. But I do think this horse is lined up to win very shortly. And like your selection, Strong Johnson, it's a formality that's going to win a race or two by the end of the season. And both horses, look, Snash handles soft the ground. Wouldn't want it bottomless, but handles soft the ground, which you're going to start getting now in the next sort of like month or so, and that'll be winning too. I do want to quickly have a quick mention of the Great St Wilfrid itself, and
exactly, yeah.
You don't often see two sprinters clear, do you, in a big handicap like that? It just shows you how well how well handicapped that was and is going forwards. I do think Danny Tudhope thought he was going to pick the front runner up quite comfortably a furlong out, and then he started throwing the kitchen sink at some again, just a smidge too late. But they were like 3 lengths clear their side of the track. Well, actually 3 lengths clear of this side of the track, probably 5 lengths clear of their side of the track. They are 2 sprinters well in front of their mark, and interestingly, the Air Gold Cup entries are already out, and Summergand is going to be running off the same mark come the Air Gold Cup, and I'd be surprised he's not favourite to win that.
Yeah, I mean, I always, we all have our little idiosyncrasies about how we do these handicaps. I tend to do them in 2 ways. Obviously, go through the pure form, but I like to follow gambles because it's very interesting that if a shrewd yard think a horse is ready to do the business. Now, the horse I'm handicapping this race, and I've probably come to the same conclusions as you have, is the 3rd Wob Wob Wob.
Yeah.
Now that, trained by Adrian Keatley, was a major plunge all morning and carried on in the afternoon. If you'd have said on Friday that this Wob 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 would go for 5-1, Judge would have laughed, wouldn't you? Same price as Summergan virtually. The front 3 were well backed. The 3 best backed horses in the race were the first 3. Yeah. I think Keatley thought that he had this off this mark, ready to win this. And let's be honest, it may have been 3rd, but it was well beat.
Yes.
And that concludes me to the same. I have formed the same conclusion as you have, that the front 2 are exceptionally well handicapped, and Sophia Starlight must be the most progressive sprinter out there, because you think they've reached a ceiling with it. It runs so often, and then you look at some of the top speeds, they're just building and building and building. Look, we've discussed Summergan so many times on these shows, and you prove right. Yeah, and what a horse it is.
Back in him early season, now's the time to start following him at the back end of the season.
I would say you do a lot worse than follow the fortunes of the front 2, whatever the handicap.
Yeah, I agree. And interesting, so I don't know what you think, is one other thing I'd like to bring in these big sprint handicaps. You quite often want horses that have got form over 7, don't you, in these 6 furlong races? It's amazing. The winner have run over 7. Wob Wob Wob's been running over 7. Summergan's got form over 7. You need to be a strong stayer at 6, don't you, to win these big handicaps?
Yeah, you do. And that was the thing as well. If you try and front run in tactics, obviously no horse can pure sprint, but if they know they get a breather in them at a furlong pole and that the horse stays further, very difficult for those behind to catch up. You want one that they're wanting things like Roundhay Park that happened in the previous race. They're wanting the front runners to fall in a hole. That just didn't happen. Summergan had to try and go and get the winner.
He did.
It didn't stop, and that very nearly happened, but it didn't happen. But come back to it. If a yard as shrewd as that obviously thought the third was bang on at that mark and ready to do the business. And, you know, they weren't far wrong, but they were wrong enough to be beaten nearly 3 lengths.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what they did, you know, to thicken the plot. I'd be interested to see where the third goes next.
Yeah, funny enough, I looked at him for a possible eye catcher, but it was just the fact he's now off a mark that he's not shown a lot more improvement from. He'll probably win a handicap. It's not conducive to think he's well handicapped. He's just handicapped competitively.
And they've shown the hand now, haven't they?
Yeah. And if you had looked at the time before at Goodwood, he got beat by one that was chucked in, also called Ross Collin. I mean, they were, funny enough, they were clear that day, and Isla Kai finished well beaten third behind those two, and he ran well at the other meeting. So, you know, they must have known they had all bang cherry right. I mean, he's the type who's going to pop up again next time out, probably win about 2 to 1, and that'll be it for the season. I can't see him winning more than one race. But for the purpose of this video, you're looking for horses that have probably got 2 or 3 wins in, and aren't you really? You're looking for something that's really well handicapped or a target race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, I better go and pack, Judge.
Yes, have a fantastic time. I'm not at all jealous, but I'm really looking forward to York ahead. I'm already had a quick look at the sprint handicap to start off with. I'm already excited about it. You can't beat it, can you, York? It's a meeting of the year for me.
I'll be live from the Knavesmire every day on my channel and in the columns. So let's hope we have a great week. I'm sure you can bang them winners in, Judge, from your...
I'll be disappointed if I don't.
Exactly. So have a great week. And, of course, more than any other week, I think we need to finish by saying...
Be lucky.
Be lucky.